All right. Well, hey, Matt, welcome to the Clinical Leadership Podcast. Thanks for taking time out of your Wednesday morning here to meet with us.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to chat marketing, chat SEO, chat chiropractor, horror stories, maybe. I don't know, whatever you want to talk about. Let's go. I'm ready for it.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, I've been waiting to interview you for a while since I started really consuming your content online. And I think when I first started following you, you were at like, I don't know, 2,500 followers. Like it
Oh
was
wow,
like,
you're like early
yeah,
on.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Whoa.
And now I don't know where you're at right now, well over 100 something thousand,
It's
maybe even
almost
more.
164, I think, as of this morning, thousand.
Awesome, man.
It's crazy.
I'd love to see the growth, love to see the success. And more importantly, though, I think you might agree with this. It's also fun and very cool and fulfilling to see the impact that you're having on small businesses. And just to
Yeah.
give you a little backstory, um, one of the reasons why I wanted to learn more about SEO, and then you popped up on my feed, and I thought, well, this guy's giving away the secrets of SEO. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of sorcery is this? And it's because SEO is like an abyss, right? It's like an ether. You can't really put your finger on it. And every marketer, every digital marketer is saying, well, you need to improve your SEO. I'm like, but what is it? So
Yeah.
I think it's a good place to start because we're in healthcare, right? We're chiros,
Yep.
we're PTs, we're strength coaches with backgrounds in evidence-based, medicine or evidence-based, treatment guidelines and stuff. So
Yep.
we're like, what's the objective here? Tell us what SEO really is from an objective standpoint to help us get some clarity.
Yeah. So first, I just want to address the one thing that you said about the impact that I am having and like these videos and the training is having on, people every day. Like I get emails daily at this point of people being like, I took your free course, which we can talk about that later. I took your free course and like nobody's ever explained SEO in a way that is so easy to understand. Like I get it now. Thank you so much. Like all this kind of stuff. And some days, as a business owner, you really need to hear that stuff because you might be having a bad day or something's not going right or there's a problem with the team, like something. But anyways, so it's really nice to hear that kind of stuff. um, to answer your other question, what is SEO in a nutshell? Right, that's what we want to know, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, tell us. We're dying to know.
Well, I might just keep you waiting a little bit longer. No. So SEO is basically just, how do I say this without it sounding more complicated than it is? So SEO is basically optimizing your website so that it shows up higher on Google. That sounds complicated. It's really not. It's literally all about content, the words on your page, videos, images. And the biggest thing, and this interview might be the shortest one you've ever done, but the biggest thing is just creating helpful content in those forums on your website. Like that is it. Google keeps releasing update after update, algorithm updates, all saying create helpful content that is actually helping people. If you do that, you will start to rank higher on Google. And helpful content is usually like a longer form piece of content. It could be a 10-minute video, it could be an article answering a question that's like 1,000 words, 1,500 words. Um, but basically, that's SEO. It's all content.
And you use this word optimize, right? Like
Yeah.
describe a little bit more of like, because I sure personally, I've probably talked to
Yeah.
15 to 20 different digital marketers starting a clinic, starting an education entity.
Yep.
And they sit me down, they basically give me the equivalent of like a report of findings on my website, on my Google
Yep.
presence. And inevitably they all say some variation of like, well, this page is not optimized. Like that's gonna be the first thing we do is optimize
Yeah.
this page. And I like right away, I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, how does something get optimized? Like in
Yeah.
movement, if we say, well, you're not moving optimally, well, the baseline would be, well, there's an ideal way of moving, or maybe there's a
Yeah.
variable type of moving, and you're just not moving well. And so we want to improve the way that you're moving. That's kind of like,
Yep.
what we do in the functional rehab world. So when we hear that a website, which, you go to Weebly, go to Wix, go to,
Yep. Whatever you
Squarespace,
want.
how is that not optimized? It's coming from a big company. So I guess one of the places to kind of go from there would be what is an optimized website?
Okay. So look at not it as optimizing a website as a whole, but optimizing pieces of content individually. That's really how you have to look at it because every single page on your website should be going after one keyword and the variations for that keyword, right? So if it's like, for example, chiropractor in Hamilton, like that's one keyword. Maybe that's what you want your homepage to rank for. But then you would have another page that says something like, I don't know. I don't know anything about chiropractor, so forgive me if this is like the stupidest thing you've ever heard, but back adjustments chiropractor in Hamilton. Like that would be a different page because that's a different service. Or like, is chiropractor is seeing a chiropractor really scientific or is it bullshit, right? Like having articles like that on your website where you're answering questions that people actually have. And if you are a chiropractor and you're addressing that, be like, yeah, there's a lot of bullshit that happens. And I don't know if I can say that on this podcast, but there's a lot of bullshit that happens in this industry. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and you need to be adjusted, even though you don't need to be adjusted because there's always something to optimize, right? And I see that a lot in SEO as well. But oh my God, I lost my train of thought.
Well, it's okay because I think I even saw on one of your posts, one of your videos, where you're like sharing how to create content directly from, what people are asking about your
Yes,
your profession. And so I did. I actually wrote a blog that was about 15 to 1800 words
amazing.
that was entitled "What Actually Happens When You Get Your Back Cracked," like
Yep,
in the kind of the
that's
scientific.
perfect.
And like within 30 days, that was by far, the I could see my website, developer gives me some stats and stuff. And I can see that almost over the course of the 30 days that I published that blog, that was the number one
Oh,
website
come on.
page on my website within 30 days. And all I did was answer a question that the public, now my website was not in a good place, but it
Sure.
was it was still good content. So I think that to your point, I'm not saying that to, self-praise
Yeah,
stinks, but it was answering a scientific question that the public is asking, and they were
yeah,
relatively unaware about what actually happens. So I dispelled some myths and I shared what's actually happening.
yep.
And there's a little YouTube video embedded with like a joint cavitation and a joint movement. So it's
Great.
like this is like, okay, so this is how this is done, right? And it was cool to see the idea turn into reality, turn into
Yep.
results, right? So now I use it as a marketing piece. So when we have a new patient that gets on the schedule, we send them that blog that's like, hey, by the way, here's
Yeah.
kind of our view. Here's to kind of build value for the appointment. And so it's one piece of content that is still producing a measurable outcome within our
Yeah.
business to this day. And that was 6 months ago. I think I put that out there. So yeah, go on.
That's
This is
amazing.
real. This is helpful.
Wow. That first of all, congratulations. That's sick. And like that, this is why I do it. Like I'm getting chills right now, just like hearing you talk about this. It's like I post videos so that people can do it themselves. One, because there's a lot of like shit scammer SEO people out there that would be like, yeah, we're optimizing. It's like, well, what did you do? It's like, well, here's a report. And you're like, I don't understand this report. And they never explain it to you.
Yep.
So that's one thing to help people like not get scammed kind of thing. And then the other thing is like there's a lot of people who just can't afford to hire somebody else to do it, or they have an interest in running their own business completely, doing their own marketing, which is great. And I love that. And that person's not gonna be my client or customer or anything like that. So like if I can help them and it betters their lives and it betters the lives of people around them and it kind of has that waterfall effect, like let's fucking go. Again, I don't know if I can swear on this, but I just did. You can bleep it out if you need to.
We'll just make it. We'll
So
just make it an E. We'll just make sure we mark it not kid
yeah.
friendly. Yeah.
So to answer your question, like what is optimizing a page? What is optimizing a piece of content? So you can write a blog. What was your blog about again? What was the title
It
of your
was like
blog?
what actually happens when you get your back, and in quotations I
Uh,
had cracked, because people
yeah.
would call us
So
up and they would say, "Hey, I'd like to come in and get my back cracked." I'm like, "You're calling if that's your first question to our clinic, you're calling the wrong
yeah.
clinic."
So for example, a poorly optimized piece of content could be like back cracking myths, right? Like it's a short thing. It does have the keyword backtracking in there, but it's everybody's going to be saying that exactly how it is. Or like, sorry, I'm just trying to like, this is terrible doing on a podcast, trying to think of examples here, but where you don't use the keyword at all, what actually happens when you, I don't know, when you're back I can't, sorry, I can't think of an example, but if you're not including the keyword that you're trying to rank for in the title of the page, like the big text that you see at the top, which is actually called a heading one tag or an H1 tag, which in any website builder platform, you can choose like, is this heading one, heading two? Like there's a drop down that usually says that. So it's very easy to do, but that heading one tag tells Google exactly what that page is about. And more importantly, it tells people what that page is about. So what actually happens when you're getting your back cracked or adjusted, whatever that article is, like people are like, oh, what does actually happen? That's the information that I'm looking for. It's in big text at the top of the page, the first thing they see. Um, so having your keyword in there, you need to have it. You need to be answering that question. And not everything needs to be an answer to a question, but it's a lot easier to frame things that way because people have questions about things. And ultimately, when you're looking for information on Google, it's to answer a question that you have, right? So with that in mind, that is the top thing that should be optimized. Then you need to have your content organized in a way that is easy to digest, right? So you need to have subheadings. These are called heading two and heading three tags, which we can talk about in a bit. But heading two tags are the subtopic of that. So, for example, in your article, what would be, a subtopic of what actually happens when you're getting your back cracked?
Yeah, so I believe I have on there that's like, well, here's what actually happens. And then I
Yep.
have kind of like what people think happens, and then
Yep.
versus, kind of in reality, what do we know to be happening? And then that's where I cite the study and cite a little, the
Great.
YouTube video. So I try to give
So
evidence to support it or evidence against it.
yeah, and like with all this stuff, like be unbiased, or you can throw in your own experience in there as well that will make you biased. But at the end of the day, like the way that you're breaking out your content is like, okay, here's the main topic, which is your heading one tag, that's your title. And then underneath there, you're talking about subtopics. So like what actually happens? What do people think actually happens? So you're breaking down the content into digestible ways. You're separating it with likely photos. You already mentioned video. So it's not this giant wall of text. Like you're actually providing not only value and helpfulness, but you're showing it in an easy to digest way, right? So that piece of content, I haven't looked at it, but as far as you're describing, I would consider that optimized to an extent. You can always, like you said, you can always adjust more, the neck or the back or whatever. You can always like optimize more, which does end up happening, we're working with a client for 6 months and we're like, oh, we wrote this piece of content, 6 months ago and it's not really doing anything. It's not indexing. We can then go back in and adjust the content, right?
Yeah.
So one of the big things that we say is when you want to rank for a specific keyword, go to Google, type in that keyword and open the top three links. Use a private browser if you can, so it's not like grabbing your preferences or your profile kind of thing. Open the top three links, look at the topics, like the main topic, the title of the articles. What is their title? Are they using the keyword at the start, at the end, in the middle? Um, Look at their subtopic. So, the text that's slightly smaller, but still like a subheading, and see what they're talking about there in the top three articles. And then also look at how many words they're using. And there's a ton of plugins or extensions you can get for Google Chrome that will, you click a button, it'll tell you all this stuff really quickly. Um, so basically, it's like use the keyword in your headings, in your subtopics, and your main topic. Make sure that your content is as long or longer, and then also make sure that you're using the keyword that you want to rank for in your content. There's a lot of times where people are like, "Why isn't this ranking?" I'm like, "Well, you only mentioned the keyword that you want to rank for twice on this page, right? In your the page title, which is great, but you're barely talking about it in the content. And like I get that this content is relevant to that, but you're not talking about, what really happens when you're cracking your back,
Mm.
right? So
That's
that's
so good.
that's optimization in a nutshell. Like and I say this, anybody can do SEO, it just takes time. And like that's with everything. It takes time. You have to put in the time. You're not
So
going to fix your
when
neck in a day,
That's right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good segue into the next question, which would be, I saw an immediate, I should say immediate. I saw about a 30-day period of when I wrote the blog. And then
Yeah,
thanks to you, I learned how to link up my Google Search Console and I can actually see
love it.
see some of the performance of my website. So I could then corroborate what my website developer who gives me some stats, was he just blowing
Yeah,
smoke where they actually, and I could see it's pretty consistent. So this is good kind of verification. And
yep.
I saw that on that particular blog, I saw some results within 30 days. How typically, if we wanted to rank up in our area, what are some typical results where you've seen where people commit time, energy, and effort into SEO for their website? What are some typical timelines or timeframes that you've seen people just soar up the charts on their Google rankings?
So in general, 3 to 6 to 12 months. So it depends on the site. a lot of our clients will see results because like we know what we're doing and we're doing a lot. They'll see results within 3 months. They'll start like at least start the needle moving. But some clients, it takes 6 months or 5 or 6 months, and then the needle starts moving. It really depends on how competitive the industry is or your area. Like we're talking, like sorry, you were talking with a lot of chiropractors, and they're all local businesses. So is there area? Is there a lot of chiropractors? Has somebody been doing SEO for 10 years? Are they on it? Are they spending thousands of dollars a month doing that? You kind of have to play catch up at that point. But one thing that a lot of them probably aren't doing, and I'm just completely digressing at this point, but one thing that a lot of them probably aren't doing is answering their clients' questions. Like you don't even need to do keyword research necessarily. You can literally any questions that you're getting asked on a daily basis, like, oh, that's a great question. I can write a blog post about that. And it does two things. One, you can send it to future clients who have that question and want to learn more about it. And two, people are asking that question on the internet. It'll help you show up higher on Google, right?
I think Matt, I need to admit something. The chiropractic profession inherently is a very lazy profession. And so what you will find out, and I'm being critical, but I'm also being, it's kind of the fact of the matter, right?
Yep.
And I call a spade a spade. I love my profession. I don't think there's a better time to be a chiropractor than in 2024.
Yep.
Um, However, having said that, chiropractors try to get as much as they can with putting as very little effort as possible into it. So if they can hire a digital marketing firm to do their website, to have a monthly
Great.
blog article, to have and you know how I know this because there's about 4 or 5 digital marketing agencies that use the same stock images, have the same website builder. They use the same, they just change the chiropractor's picture, the name of the clinic,
Yep.
and the phone number, and it's the same stock website. And so
Yep.
to your point, I think that SEO for what we do in the functional rehab world, sure, maybe we're not spending thousands of dollars on ads or on digital services
Yep.
doing the SEO for us. But I think there's a unique opportunity in that it's so poorly being done right now that we really have an opportunity that a little bit of effort will go a long way because it's going to be I like the reference of like a diamond with a white backdrop doesn't stand out, but a diamond with a
Yep.
black backdrop pops. And I think
Yep.
right now it's a white backdrop. So anything that we do with a black backdrop, I think the contrast of that is going to just pop. And I think that we've got a really unique opportunity to implement some of your SEO knowledge and skills to really, really
Yeah.
solidify our impact in our communities.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. It's not just chiropractors who are lazy, it's everybody. Everybody wants that. Well, and that's the truth. That's the thing. Like people want an easy shortcut to get results. They want clients coming in the door. They don't want to put in the work. And I mean, some people do, and the people who do and do it well, like they get the results, they make the money. Um, but it's like there's no winning the lottery with this stuff. You have to put in the work. Like you could buy as many tickets as you want, but that doesn't increase your odds of winning unless you're, actually going in to do the work. I hope that analogy made sense. Um, yeah, it's just, and what you're saying about like the templated stuff, like I've worked with a lot of dentists, like doing their websites and SEO and stuff like that. And there are companies they're specifically for dentists that will do the same thing. They'll have that templated website, they'll change out the pictures, it looks like crap, it doesn't perform. And then the dentists are like, well, SEO doesn't work. We're paying this guy 500 bucks a month for SEO. And I'm like, you can't do anything for 500 bucks a month. Like you need to spend a lot more money than that if you actually want to see results. So it's yeah, there's those companies that are really taking advantage of, a lot of professionals being like, yeah, you have a good looking website, you have SEO, and they're not really doing anything, which, leads to the SEO doesn't work mindset, all that kind of stuff. But when you actually put in the work where you hire somebody and actually pay them good money to do it, you'll get results.
So one of the questions that I put out on Instagram when I announced I was going to be interviewing you, and the great question, but this was the question that someone reached out and said, when do we know that what we've done with our SEO work, like we've reached our point, or is there a point at which we need to hire someone?
So I say usually if you're doing it yourself, give it 6 to 12 months. Like it's a long game. Publish 2 blog posts every week. I know that's a lot, but if you're doing one a month, like you're gonna see results in a couple years maybe. And like if one of them pops off, right? If one of them just gets indexed and like all of a sudden goes crazy, it's gonna take you a lot longer to see results. But if you're doing two a week, you know, eight a month, what's that over 6 months? Like that's a ton of content. The chances of nothing getting picked up is very low, right? And that's what that was my Instagram strategy as well. Like I committed, and I've only been doing Instagram since January 2023. So I committed to posting one video every single day. And then at like after the second or third month, I was like, I'm going to do three videos every single day because I'm like, I need to increase the times I'm swinging at the ball, right? My at bats, I need to swing as much as possible. And eventually I'm going to hit something. And eventually I did. It took about 6 or 7 months, but eventually I hit something and I knocked it way the fuck out of the park. And now I'm like, okay, I need to just do that again, right? You get the muscle memory of that almost, and you're like, okay, that's great. But we're not here to talk about Instagram. It's the same thing with SEO. It's all content. It's all helping people out. Not everything you write is going to hit it out of the park, but you know, you can get a couple is it called a first baser? Get a couple people to first base.
A
I'm
single.
a single. Oh my God, I'm like terrible with sports analogies. Jesus, what am I even talking about? Sports. I don't play sports. I don't know sports, but I'm using the analogies. It's great. I love it. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Um, yeah, and the same thing with SEO. The more you publish, the more chances of something that you write getting picked up in the algorithm and people like actually clicking over to your site and hiring you.
Yeah, I love that you shared a little testimonial of a client that hired you guys to, I don't know if it's you
Hmm.
and your team, but your agency
Yep.
at Hey Tony, and you just shared like, hey, this is what we did, and you just
Yep.
casually said in one of your posts. So we published 8 blogs in the first month, and we did that for 3 months, and then like I remember like pausing and being like, are you kidding? This dude published 8 blogs in a month.
Yeah.
And and I'm like, wow, I've got the 1 month of blog going.
Yeah.
And I encourage other people at least find because I was told find a
Yeah.
consistent timeline that works for you and just keep publishing according to that consistent
Yep.
timeline. And maybe that was right 3 years ago. Um, but then I like what you said. Like the more you swing, the more swings you have, the more chances you have of hitting the ball. And like you said, another sporting analogy here, like nobody bats 1,000, so
Yeah.
nobody's got got a perfect track record on Instagram or on email campaigns or SEO. Like nobody's
Yeah.
batting 1,000. But I think the take home point for me right there was, but you could do more and have more chances of actually hitting a home run. Like that's
Yeah.
that's kind of the way that this SEO and actually marketing right now in 2024 and beyond. That's kind of the game that we're playing.
Yeah. I'm gonna use another sports analogy right now, but
Uh-oh, this
Michael
could go anywhere
Jordan,
then.
yeah, Michael Jordan probably, threw more balls than anybody else on the team, right? He was always practicing. He was always working on those shots. And like I watch the documentaries and stuff, so I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. But like if you put in the work, if you do the reps, you will get better results than the next guy or the next person. That's it. Like at the end of the day, like I know one thing that I can do better than anybody else, at least in my local area, is I can post videos about SEO every single day. I can never run out of things to talk about, although some days it feels like I can. Um, Nobody else is going to commit that time because it is a lot of work, right? But that a lot of work pays off, and it pays off in like tenfold. Like it's insane.
That just reminds me. I put out a weekly email to our list, and um, anyways, it was just the way that I closed off the email this week was in a nutshell. It was if you want to be exceptional and normal at the same time, those are diametrically opposed forces.
Yeah,
And what you just described was the skills, the commitment that it takes to be exceptional. And most people won't commit. They might have the skills, but they won't commit to being exceptional. And because normal people will get normal results and exceptional people will get exceptional results. But it is a logical fallacy to think that you can be normal and get the things that exceptional people have produced. It's like
yeah,
it's for whatever reason people think that being normal is okay and being exceptional is okay. It's like they're actually opposing forces.
yeah. And yeah, I've talked to a lot of people. I don't want to name any names of people who are really passionate about something, but they just never put in the work. and then that dream or that passion kind of dies off and like, oh, I could have. It's like, well, no, you couldn't have because you didn't actually commit. You were exceptional maybe in your talent at that one thing, but you didn't put in the work. You didn't spend every day doing it. Um, where was I going with that? Oh my God, you're gonna have to cut so much stuff out of this podcast probably, or you can leave it. I don't know how
I'll
it
leave it.
works for you. Leave
It,
it. This
you
is
know,
real.
this is
Yeah.
real. It's a genuine conversation. I say every episode, purely selfish reasons. I like to interview people because I like to learn from them directly. And I've
Yeah.
really been, honored and humbled to meet people like you virtually and get to share with the world, what makes Matt tick, how he's got, his
Yeah.
following that he's got and the impact that he has. I think, and then also just on a tactical level, you kind of hinted a little bit at your course, and I'd love to take a little deeper
Hmm.
dive into your course and how people can learn more from you, because I'm all about connecting people, connecting good people with other
Yep.
good people, and growing, our impact as a company and as an education and business
Yep.
coaching firm. I think that's kind of one of my jobs is to make sure I can connect like-minded people. So. I signed up for your course after watching all your videos, and then
Love it.
got dropped into your automation and learned about ManyChat and learned about all
Yeah.
these things directly from you. And I thought, wow, his system is smooth.
Love it.
And so, I got your emails and I'm like, this guy's legit. This guy's genuine. This guy knows the game and he's playing it ethically. He's playing it the right way. And
Yep.
what I like about it is a bit contrarian, like rather than paying 2,500 bucks to retain you for SEO stuff, you're just giving it away
Yeah.
for free. Like,
Yeah.
don't tell anyone, but it's all free. And
Yeah.
so I signed up for your class just to like have a little bit of
Yeah.
structure, right? Like that was kind of what I was looking for. So I signed up for your class, and what I loved about your class, and you might get this a lot, is it is so digestible, right? You have one slide and that's one kind of module. You talk
Yeah.
about, keywords, for example, as you just rattled off earlier, H1, H2, H3.
Yeah.
Will you share? Whereas I think most people, myself included, we start to really go overload the online courses with like a 30-minute lecture, an hour-long lecture,
Yeah.
and meanwhile people have to dedicate an entire afternoon. Whereas with your
Yeah.
class, it's like, oh, there's a 2 to 3 minute video on keywords. Okay, I'm gonna watch. I can watch this.
Yeah.
I can digest it, and
Yeah.
then I pause it and I move on. I come back. So your class is it's I called it SEO for dummies on my post yesterday, but it was like
I don't
it's
know it. I don't know if I can act, like I can't use that term, but if other people are saying it, I think that's okay legally,
I don't.
right?
Is there a book already called SEO for Dummies?
There's
Maybe there's
gotta
got to
be.
be.
There's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole For Dummies franchise.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm not saying it's not called that, but if that's the essence you're getting from it, great. I'm not gonna
I mean,
argue.
no copywriting and no trademarking
Yeah.
infringement. It's just strictly what I thought of it as I was going through. That honestly, you saying that was the first time I thought of it. But yeah, so it's understanding SEO is your class. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about it.
Honestly, I think you did a really good job at that. So that is my free course, and that's kind of my lead magnet to get people into my funnel and onto my email list, which if you don't know what all that stuff is, that's probably going to be another podcast that you talk about. But basically, yeah, it's a free course that teaches you the foundations of SEO. And I wanted it to be so easy that like I could show it to anybody who doesn't know anything about even using a computer. Like, okay, this like I understand this. Like there's part of SEO is making your content so easy to understand that like I used to say a 7-year-old, but like 7-year-olds are, not educated enough yet or can't comprehend things enough. But so easy to understand that a 12-year-old can understand it, with ease. And within your content that you're writing, you should be doing that. Like if there's complicated terms in your industry, I'm sure there's something for backcracking, whatever that complicated terms is. You're going to say backcracking instead of that term because people get that. Like you want to do this for the lowest common denominator, because the easier it is for people to understand, the more people will actually understand it. And that's why my course is called Understanding SEO. And again, it just goes over the basic elements that go into SEO. There's no like strategy, like use the keyword 10 times or like make sure you're doing this. It's like here's what a heading tag is. Here's why it's important. And yes, I do mention a couple tips and tricks here and there, but the whole point of that course is if you know nothing about SEO and you want to show up higher on Google, take that course. It's absolutely free. And again, like I will try to upsell you in my email funnel to the actual watch me do this and here's how to do this version of that course. um, which is like a step-by-step guide. But like I'm perfectly happy giving everything away for free on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is. Because I know there's a lot of people who can't even afford to, buy a $10 course. My course isn't $10, but who can't afford to buy a $10 course. I'm like, why should they be left out? They're business owners. Maybe one day they watch my free course or somebody's free course, free resources, and they become a billionaire and they're like, yeah, the one person who helped me out was that guy when I had no money, right? And like I'm not doing it for that. I'm just like, if I can better somebody else's life, great. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I think I got the goosebumps just thinking about that because one of the we have two coaching programs, Matt. So I mentioned this earlier to you, is
Yep.
that we have like a higher level mastermind for people, that want to implement some systems in their business, and they were solopreneurs. They got the business started off of the ground up, and now they're running into the next level in business, which is they got to hire a team, they got to implement systems, and they're stuck. Sometimes it's 10 grand a month, 15, 20, 25 grand, and they want to
Yep.
get to 40, 50, 60 grand consistently. And
Yep.
so that's our business mastermind. But we also have another group, and that's for people that are either currently in physical therapy or chiropractic school, or they've
Yep.
been in business less than 12 months. And they're trying to, like, sometimes people join our program, they're not even licensed yet. And my
Right.
advice to them is fantastic. Like, you're ahead of the game. Here's how to start pumping out some content. So we talk about
Yeah.
building out a website, and I encourage them immediately to start following your stuff for SEO work. And it's like
Thank you.
they're pumping out blogs, even though they have a website, but they don't have a license yet to treat a patient.
Yeah.
They got a wait list going because of the content that they're putting out. That's like drawing interest to their business before they
I
even have
love
a
that.
license to treat them. And it's
That's
like getting ahead.
amazing.
It's getting ahead of the, because I did this for 4 months when I was finishing up my school. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna open up on my own. I've got this education entity. What do I do? Right. And I looked around the student clinic where I was at, and people are on Netflix. People are just wasting time left and right. And so I just
Yeah.
wrote two business plans. I put two business plans like into action. I didn't do a blog or anything, but
Yep.
I call it the ground game. I went to every gym in my area. I generated a lot of non-digital leads.
Yep.
And that's just what I did. I just pounded the pavement, and every business in my area I wanted to introduce myself to. Now, if I could do it all over again, I would have been writing two blogs a week. I would have been doing stuff on
Yeah.
YouTube, on Instagram. I would have had a wait list sign up. I would have been pushing people in my own funnel to that. And so that's the advice that I give new Kairos and new PTs. It's like, you can start right now.
Yeah. And the thing is, like with AI, it makes it so much easier and quicker to get started with writing content. I've been doing SEO for over a decade at this point, and back in the day, you opened up a document and you're like, well, what do I write about? I did some keyword research, but like what's the first word? I don't know if you know the SpongeBob meme where he's like trying to write a letter at like a letter to somebody and he just writes the first T and it's like this giant animation or like this giant graphic. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Just
visualize
look it up
SpongeBob,
after
but
this.
I'll look it
Yeah.
up. Yeah, yeah.
It's just like this very beautiful T and like T and like HE. But like that's what used to happen. But now with AI and ChatGPT, and like there's a bunch of AIs that you can use, but like we use ChatGPT. Um, you can take other people's content, you can put it in there and say, can you tell me what this content is about? And then it'll give you a summary of the content. Do that for, as many articles as you need to on that one specific topic. And then you can say like, hey, can you create me an outline for this? Like if I want to do something combining all the information that you just learned about this stuff, can you make me an outline so I can write this myself? And then you literally have a skeleton and you're putting meat on those bones. Like that is it. It's so easy now. And when people are like, "Oh, SEO is not easy. Don't believe this guy." I'm like, "It's the easiest it's ever been." Just like Google's literally telling you they have a helpful content update. They just released another one where they rolled that helpful content update into the core algorithm. Like it's they want helpful content and they want it doesn't matter if it's AI or human written, as long as it's helpful. We always say, like, don't just paste AI shit onto your website. Like, that's likely not going to work. But if you go in, add your experiences, add your expertise, add your opinion, like, that's really what's going to differentiate your content from any other content that exists, right? Nobody else is you. Nobody else has your experiences or thoughts.
Yeah, one of the things on my kind of framework for writing a blog is I always try to give like a case study of someone that
Yeah.
that we've seen or treated in their journey because I think there's also some social proof. So if someone has, for example, a disc herniation in a CrossFitter, right? That's a very common thing that we see. Not just me and my clinic here, but like
Yep.
those in our business, mastermind. We always talk about doing workshops at CrossFit gyms because for whatever reason, low back and CrossFit that's good for business, but
Yeah.
like it's a good population to serve, and they also get it, right? Like they understand a
Yeah.
little bit more things, and they're already in the active world, so we want to continue to encourage that. So but like a blog post on low back, disc herniations and CrossFit athletes and a recovery, and then we'll give a case study on how someone was able to participate in the open 4 or 5 days after what they were told they
So
needed to be bed bound for 6 weeks or something.
let me just ask you a question there. Do people know what that
Yeah.
word is? Dis whatever carniation, is that what
No,
it's called?
disc herniation. Yeah,
Disc
so no, the
herniation.
answer the
Okay.
answer is no. Most people say I slipped a disc. That's like the
Right.
quote that people say.
So just in that example, you wouldn't use that word as your title. It would say CrossFit lower back pain, like something like that. I have lower back pain after doing CrossFit. What should I do? Right?
Yep.
Like break it down to the lowest common denominator. Everybody understands that. I've heard the term slip disc. Somebody may have told that to them at the CrossFit gym, right? So you can use those words. You can also use disc herniation. Is
Yep.
that what it's called?
Yep. Or disc injury. You
Um,
could say disc injury.
yeah,
Yeah.
disc like you can use those words in that content because some people are going to be looking those up, but like it'll show you more as an authority if you can explain it to somebody who doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah. Now this is where I've learned from you. I actually will put a backlink to another post that I put that was like, what is a disc herniation? So I kind of explained what it
Yes.
was. So then on the low back pain and CrossFit, I did have disc herniation in the title because I wanted CrossFitters. But
Yep.
then I said, if you haven't read my previous article on what is a disc, click here and then it'll take you over to,
That's
the
perfect. That's exactly what
cool.
you should be doing. And what you're talking about there is internal linking. You're linking from one page on your website to another page so from one resource to another resource. And that keeps people on your site longer. It shows that you are an authority. It's like, oh, we have a blog post about this other topic if you want to learn more. And that also helps Google find the pages on your site. A quick tip with internal linking, internal link to 2 to 3 other pages on your website from every single blog post.
Wow.
That will help Google find all the pages on your website a lot quicker.
Cool.
Yeah,
It's a good
that's
tip.
it. That's a
Yeah.
that's a tip. Not that you asked for a tip, but that's a tip.
Well, that's
Um,
why we're here.
yeah. Just
Let
show,
me ask you
just
one
yeah,
let me ask one final question, Matt. Sorry to interrupt you there.
no problem.
I know that there are some resources on websites like WordPress, right, where we can
Mhm.
actually, integrate some apps and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it earlier, like Wix, Weebly, Squarespace. Do you actually recommend if you're just getting started out in business that you start a Squarespace website or something similar like that? Or is it better for SEO to just dive into a WordPress type site?
The best thing for SEO is a website. However, you can do that is going to be the best way to do it. My favorite way is using WordPress, and there's so many themes. It's like it's very beginner level. You don't even need to know how to do design anymore or any coding. There's a couple steps you need to take, but that are a little bit more advanced with WordPress than Squarespace or Wix or something like that. But WordPress is really easy to use once you get the hang of it. But if you are like, okay, that's too much, Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, like whatever you want to use, as long as you start publishing and getting things up, that is the most important thing to do because you can't optimize what doesn't exist.
That's a great. We're gonna write that one down. Gonna tattoo that on
Yeah.
our cerebral cortex, which is right here, Matt. In case you were wondering.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I
So
call that the
where can
forehead.
there you go. So where can our viewers and our listeners where can they learn more about you and some of the stuff that you're putting out?
Oh my God. I actually just need to know, or sorry, to look at my Instagram and see what my actual handle is. Oh my God. Oh, hey Tony dot agency. That's it. Hey Tony dot agency. That's my company's name. Or if you just look up Matt Diamante on Instagram or TikTok, I should come up. Um, yeah, and I'm sure you'll have show notes or something where you could share a link.
Yep.
I can give that to you as well. But yeah, if anybody listening wants to take my free course, I'm hoping it's in the show notes, a link to that. You
Yep.
have to sign up for my email list and then it'll add you. It's all videos, easy to digest. And if that's all you ever do with me and that helps you and you never give me a dime, I love that for you. That's great.
I love it. I love it. I think kind of the key takeaway for me is really the impact that you're having on small businesses. Here I go again with the goosebumps, man. It's just because I appreciate so much for what you've done because you solved a problem and people like myself who were confused, uncertain, spent a lot of time, energy, and money on trying to figure this dumb thing out of SEO.
Yeah,
You've solved that problem for us. And
I love that.
it's another thing that I call, which is effortless sales, right? Like if you come across genuine, you come across highly credible as an authority figure in your industry, which your following suggests that you're obviously doing something right. So there's the authority,
Yeah.
right? Then when you go to sell something, it's actually effortless. And I would recommend people go through your free course and then sign up for the next thing, right? So what is
Hmm.
what's your ideal customer journey look like? So if we have clinic owners that
Yep.
go through your course and they're like, I like this guy, I want to go to the next level in business with them. What are their options after that?
There's two options. One, you can get my paid course, which is 157 bucks, like total, not monthly, 157 bucks. And I show you my step-by-step SEO process. Like I don't edit the videos down. Like if I make a mistake in the video that you would probably make, I leave all of that stuff in so that you can be like, okay, well, yeah, I had that same thing. Here's how we fixed it. I'm not skipping over anything. So that's the other option, or that's one option. Then the other option is to fill out the contact form on my website, heytony.ca. Um, and if you have a budget of like our budget's quite high, 3,500 bucks a month, minimum 6 months, fill out that contact form and we will do all your SEO for you.
Brilliant. I think that's kind of what people wanted to know is
Yeah.
how much would it cost for them to do it themselves, or how much would it cost someone like you to step in? And so again,
Yeah. There's a lot of
we're in the
people.
yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say there's a lot of people who are like they gatekeep their pricing and like where the budget goes. Like I did a whole video breaking down like here's where all that money actually goes, in the business and here's what the profit is on that. And it's not a huge profit. It's like we're doing a lot of work. So, anyways, yeah, I'm fine to answer any questions about budgets, about any like no gatekeeping. Let's all just be open and honest and transparent.
I love it. I do. I think that's the effortless sales, right? I think the people that feel like it's a bait and switch, you're going to run into more resistance and more
Yep.
friction. But no, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on and answering
Thank
our
you for having
our
me.
hard pressing questions. It's
This
been
is
really an
great.
honor, and I can't wait to see where you're going next and all the big projects you're working on. So can't wait to just continue to follow you and see where this SEO journey takes us and you along the way, my friend. So thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.